Ukraine said on Monday its troops had liberated the southeastern settlement of Robotyne and were trying to push farther south in their 2-month-old counteroffensive against occupying Russian forces. The Ukrainian military said that its troops last week had raised the national flag in the strategic village and posted a video showing the move. The forces then carried out mopping-up operations until they confirmed control on Monday, the military said. Robotyne has been liberated, Deputy Defence Minister Hanna Maliar was quoted as saying on Monday by the military. The settlement is 10 kilometers, 6 miles, south of the frontline town of Orikhiv in the Zaporizhia region on an important road towards Tokmak, a Russian-occupied road and rail hub. Tokmak's capture would be a milestone as Ukrainian troops press southwards towards the Sea of Azov in a military drive that is intended to split Russian forces following Moscow's full-scale invasion in February 2022. Russia has not confirmed the Ukrainian advance. In a statement, Russia's defense ministry said Moscow's troops had repelled attacks by Kyiv's forces near Robotyne and Verbov. President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke on Monday of different sectors of the front in his nightly video address but made no reference to Robotyne. He said Ukrainian forces were preparing responses to Russian plans, definitely. In a way they do not anticipate. Ukraine believes its fighters have broken through the most difficult line of Russian defenses in the south and that they will now start advancing more quickly, a commander who led troops into Robotyne told Reuters last week. Separately, Defense Minister Oleksiy Reznikov said on Monday any suggestion of differences with Washington over Ukraine's military strategy were mistaken and invented. He told a news conference that Ukrainian Commander-in-Chief Valery Zaluzhny was meeting, systematically, with senior officials from allied countries supplying Ukraine with weaponry. Everything is going according to the plan, which was discussed with our partners in advance when our brigades were being formed, when they were equipped, Reznikov said. Media have reported on a meeting this month of senior NATO military chiefs and Ukraine's top general on resetting Ukraine's military strategy. The New York Times last week quoted US and other Western officials as saying that the offensive had made limited progress because Ukraine had too many troops in the wrong places. Fortifying positions. A military spokesman told Ukrainian television Kyiv's forces were continuing to fortify their positions in Robotyne. Stabilization measures, demining and preparations for further actions are underway, Alexander Stupin said. Maliar told Ukrainian television earlier that Kyiv's troops, who began their counteroffensive in early June, were now moving southeast of Robotyne and south of nearby Malotokmachka. Ukrainian forces are also fighting Russian troops in eastern Ukraine, and progress has been slower than had been widely expected because they have encountered vast Russian minefields and trenches. Maliar described the battlefield situation in the east as very hot in the past week. She said Russian troops were gathering new forces there and regrouping, and Moscow was aiming to deploy its best troops there. Ukrainian forces had continued to advance south of Bakhmut, she said, referring to the shattered eastern city captured by Moscow's troops in May after months of fierce fighting. Russians advance near Marinka, 26 combat clashes took place in a day, General Staff. Russian troops continue to advance near Marinka in Donetsk Oblast. 26 combat clashes occurred over the past 24 hours. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Information is of 1800 on the 28th of August. Details: Ukrainian Defense Forces continue to conduct an offensive operation on the Melitopol front, consolidating their positions and conducting counter-battery operations. During the past day, the Ukrainian Air Force launched 8 strikes at areas where Russian military personnel were concentrated, 1 strike on a Russian command post and 3 strikes on Russian anti-aircraft missile systems. Units from rocket forces and artillery hit 2 command posts, 1 air defense system and 1 piece of artillery at its firing positions. The Russian forces launched 8 missile and 30 air strikes over the past day and carried out 19 attacks from multiple launch rocket systems on the positions of Ukrainian troops and settlements. 26 combat clashes occurred over the past day. The operational situation on the Volyn and Polishcha fronts remains much the same as before. On the Severshchina and Slobozhanshchina fronts, Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Popivka and Slavhorod in Sumy Oblast. They carried out mortar and artillery attacks on over 20 settlements, including Karpovichi, Kamien in Chernihiv Oblast, Volfino, Boyaro-Lezachi, Hopivka, Stukalivka in Sumy Oblast and Malavovcha, Okrymivka and Veterinarn in Kharkiv Oblast. On the Kupiansk front, Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Ivanivka and Kyslivka in Kharkiv Oblast. The settlements of Kyslivka, Kolodyazne and Berestov in Kharkiv Oblast came under Russian artillery and mortar attacks. On the Lyman front, Russian forces launched airstrikes in the area of Tverdoklabo, Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast and Spern in Donetsk Oblast. More than 10 settlements, including Nevsky, Bilohorivka in Luhansk Oblast, and Verkhnyokamyansk, Torsky and Spern in Donetsk Oblast, came under Russian artillery fire. On the Bakhmut front, Russian forces carried out an airstrike in the area of New York in Donetsk Oblast. More than 10 settlements, including Privolia, Hurahorivka, Ivanovsky, Klashivka and Druzhba in Donetsk Oblast, were affected by Russian artillery attacks. On the Avdiivka front, Russian forces launched an airstrike near Avdiivka. Alexandropol, Novokulinov, Avdiivka and Severn in Donetsk Oblast came under Russian artillery and mortar fire. On the Marinka front, Ukraine's defense forces continue to hold back the advance of Russian troops near Marinka in Donetsk Oblast. Russian forces conducted an airstrike near Krasnohorivka and Kostantinivka in Donetsk Oblast. The settlements of Krasnohorivka, Marinka, Hobita, Novomykhailivka and Katerinivka in Donetsk Oblast were hit by artillery fire. On the Shakhtarsk front, Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Vodian, Novosilka and Blahodadna in Donetsk Oblast. The settlements of Vuhledar, Vodian, Prekostivka, Zolotaniva and Urozhine in Donetsk Oblast were affected by Russian artillery shelling. On the Zaporizhia front, Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Robotyne and Novodanilivka in Zaporizhia Oblast. Over 20 settlements were affected by artillery shelling, including Novodorivka, Poltavka, Huliaipilsky, Charivny, Mali Sherbeki and Kamiansk in Zaporizhia Oblast. On the Kherson front, Russian forces conducted airstrikes near Mykolaievka and Olivka in Kherson Oblast. Kherson, Sadov in Kherson Oblast and Oshakiv in Mykolaiv Oblast were affected by Russian artillery fire. The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces reported on August 28 that Russia had lost 261,310 troops in Ukraine since the beginning of its full-scale invasion on February 24 last year. This number includes 490 casualties Russian forces suffered just over the past day.